All right, YouTube, we're back. This is part 2 video that we're talking about LS swap basics. So believe it or not, this truck actually started off with a junkyard 6-liter engine that was completely junkyard, completely budget. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about that on this video about pro and cons of doing a junkyard build, quote unquote cheap LS swap. So let's get it. All right, so like I said, that one started off with a 6-liter from a 2004 that came out of a junkyard. So we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna talk to you guys about everything that's needed or how to do a junkyard LS swap. And this is whenever we talked about a cheap LS swap. This is the cheapest possible LS swap you could do. So now keep in mind, you have to be mechanically inclined. You have to know how to wire up some stuff, freaking mount some stuff, possibly modify some stuff, rig some stuff to make it work. But this is the cheapest. So if you want to do a junkyard swap, which none of these cars, these both are crate engines, but if you want to do a junkyard swap, you're gonna have to start off. The cheapest way to do it is honestly look for like a salvage vehicle. Like if you could find a vehicle from 2000 or 2007, maybe like an Astro van or something that had a LS based engine, like a 4.8 or a 5.3 liter. 6.0 are gonna go for a little bit more, but find like a 5.3 or 4.8 engine that came out of a van or something. That'll probably be the cheapest way to find it. Find an entire vehicle, buy the entire vehicle, strip out everything you're gonna use. Strip out the computer, the harness, the engine, the coils, the intake if you can, the drive shaft, the trans mount. Strip out everything, keep that, and then you're gonna sell the rest of the crap that you don't need. You're gonna sell the seats, you're gonna sell the wheels, doors, whatever you can. Post it on Facebook Marketplace, and then you get a little bit of money back. Don't get greedy. Like sell the doors for like 20 bucks, sell the wheels for like 40 bucks, just to get some of your money back. Once you strip it out and sell whatever you can, send the rest to the junkyard. They'll usually pay you for scrap metal, maybe like 100 bucks to pick it up, and they'll give you some money. So that's the cheapest way to get into it. After you do that, once you pull out your computer and everything, you're gonna keep, if you keep it completely stock, you don't upgrade injectors or camshaft or anything, you keep it completely stock, you're gonna get that computer, you're gonna delete VATs, you're gonna delete some of the codes. You can what's called depinning the harness, which means pulling out all the freaking what do you call it, smog stuff, like the wires you don't need for like the evap, the freaking EGR valve, all that stuff. You could pull all that wiring harness out and get rid of that and still use the OEM harness. Now most people will keep that harness in the engine bay because most of the computers were mounted in the engine bay on some of the trucks and stuff. But if you want to mount it in the dash, you're gonna have to relocate it, which means extending some of the wires. Now if you don't want to do that, you could buy a standalone harness from someone like BP Automotive, something like that. I don't recommend going cheap on that. I don't recommend going to Amazon or eBay because you're gonna have issues. I mean, you might get lucky, but half the time you might have some issues, and those guys aren't gonna warranty shit. So if you're gonna go with the aftermarket harness, I'll recommend like BP Automotive or someone quality. So that's gonna be like 500 bucks. So add that onto your bill. But once you do that, if for some reason you want to get more power out of it and you want to upgrade your camshaft, the engines out of a junkyard, they're already gonna be like freaking 17 to 24 years old, so they're gonna have miles on them. Now if you're over 150,000 miles, most likely those bearings are toast. So if you try to upgrade a camshaft, you might have to do bearings, which is gonna be a lot more expensive. So now you're looking at like around $4 grand in machine work. Once you go to a machine shop, tear it down, get everything clean and inspected. Hopefully the valves and everything are still good. You're probably looking at another $4 grand. So that's the same reason why I always tell people, hey, just get a crate engine, be done with it. You don't have to worry about crack blocks or anything crazy.
For sure. Like he just brought up a good point, right? So we're talking about what was it, 24-year-old cars at this point. So getting a junkyard engine, it's not worth it, because if you want something dependable, now from going from just your LS swap and you looking for a LS swap shop, now you're going to a machine shop and you're about to spend $4 grand minimum for them to, you know, break it down, clean up the block, and then reassemble
check
a short
it for
block.
cracks,
or if
replace all
we're
the
talking
bearings.
about reassembling your long block. So think about it. I spent, you know, what I say, 8,100 for the crate engine.
Yep.
That's what you're going to spend to get the engine, the junkyard engine, and then machine it anyway.
So it'd be easier to just to get a crate engine, but we're gonna cover junkyard bills because everybody talks about it. So now, don't get me wrong, LS swaps were cheaper about 10 years ago when the engines were only like 7 to 14 years old. Then you can get like a decent engine with like 8,000 miles. Now here's another tip, guys. If you call up a junkyard and you tell them, hey, I need a freaking 6-liter or a 5.3 and I want it with like 60,000 miles or under 70, I guarantee you're gonna get a call back like the next day and be like, hey, guess what, guys? We just got a new engine, or we just got a junkyard, a freaking totaled car, and it just happens to have 82,000 miles on it or some crazy shit that actually matches what you wanted. Is that accurate? Probably not. It's probably got 108,000 miles, but they're gonna want to make you feel nice and comfortable. So they're gonna tell you, hey, it's got 8,000. What's up, my family content? You want to be in it?
Okay.
All right, so again, just to reemphasize, the only way it's going to be cheap is if you buy a car that was salvaged with that engine that you wanted, 5.3, 4.8, 6.0 if you're lucky. Use everything you can from it, the OEM harness. Now, if you do use the OEM harness, you could get lucky, pull that fuse box out and try to reuse the fuse box. Hopefully you're good with wiring because you got to know how to hook up power and all that stuff. If not, you're going to have to add a fuse box to that harness, which you'll need to figure out. Now there is a website, I think it's like LT1 Swap, something like that, that gives you a pinout and then what wires to hook up to the fuse boxes and how many amps. So that's a good source if you want to go completely cheap and you're mechanically inclined. But again, don't forget these junkyard engines, man, they're going to be over 17 years old. So you're going to get some beat up shit that probably has low oil pressure issues, might even be knocking. Definitely if you do one of those engines that has a displacement on demand, you're gonna have to swap out those lifters because they're probably already leaking and going bad, and you're not gonna have displacement on demand aftermarket when you drive it as a LS swap vehicle. Anything I'm missing here, Danny?
Ah, man, covered it all, or most of it at least.
You'll still have to probably, upgrade your or install radiators. Now, if you're gonna do it cheap again, I'm going strictly cheap. You're gonna keep your fuel tank, which is probably gonna be a carb setup. It's not designed for an in-tank fuel pump if it was like before the mid 80s. So you're gonna want to run an external fuel pump because all this is based off cheapness. All right. So you run an external fuel pump that flows under 255 liters an hour. You get a Corvette filter that'll regulate it to like 60 psi, and then try to reuse your fuel lines. If not, run rubber fuel lines. Honestly, PTF is not that much more than rubber, so just go ahead and do those. Convert over to 6AN. Fitting wise, you could try to reuse your hose for your power steering, and they'll look like shit. I'll have curves everywhere. You could try to use adapters to make that work. If not, I have videos on my Instagram on how to convert this over to PTFE and still make your custom lines. Your brakes shouldn't be an issue. Other than that, that's the best way to go cheap. And I mean, like, you have to get lucky and get a good one from a junkyard. Most likely now you're gonna have to get it rebuilt. If you want a crate engine and you're a subscriber on my Instagram, you do get discounts at Pro Touring Store, along with converter, transmission, radiators, anything you want, you'll get discounts from. So if you do want to save some money, I mean, you don't want to go extremely cheap, you might want to subscribe to my Instagram, save some money there. Plus, I'll be there to help you along with your LS swaps. If you guys have any questions as far as cheap LS swaps, definitely comment down below. Danny, any more tips on where they can save money or pro and cons of a cheap LS swap?
Nah, man, I ain't got nothing on saving money. I went to say, if you go in with a saving money aspect, you're gonna spend more. I like your quote. I'm probably gonna get me a shirt made. Buy once, cry once.
Yeah. So there is some things, like I said, the harness that you definitely want to buy quality if you do aftermarket. Some stuff to save money on is keep the OEM injectors from your junkyard engine. Keep the coils. They're gonna last you like 200,000 miles easy. You don't have to buy expensive aftermarket shit. You get ignition coil or wires, spark plug wires. You get those from AutoZone or Duralast. Keep everything else pretty much the same. If you want to go cheap with brackets, I think the cheapest ones that I usually use are ICT billet. They're good quality and they're still cheap. Just make sure you get the right alternators and the right spacing for the crank pulley. You can make your own cold air intake. If not, if you want to be really cheap, just stuff a freaking air filter in the front like so many other shops do. But other than that, again, guys, you guys got comments, questions, or advice, any tips, comment down below, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.